I've got a serious pet peeve about NBA draft coverage, and I need to express it. So be my therapy session next. It's Locked on Jazz.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA Insider. Today's Locked on Jazz for you for June 5th. A serious pet peeve about the NBA draft. Then we'll talk about Jarace Walker and Taylor Hendricks, two players projected in the realm of the Jazz ninth pick. And the NBA Finals game number 1 is being talked about in the incorrect fashion. And I'll explain that to you next on the show. I am David Locke, radio voice of Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA Insider, and this is Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Give you these geeky numbers, and having just fixed my microphone, you probably should be able to hear me a little bit better than you did right beforehand. The microphone setting seems to be fixed. Yes. Today's show, as always, free and available on all podcasting apps as well as on YouTube. So feel free to jump aboard. We're going to do a fun little series on my Instagram this week at DLock09 on player highlight packages from the season. So we'll let you enjoy that coming up on my Instagram at DLock09 if you don't already follow me there. Thanks very much for all the everydayers. Back with you on this Monday. Here's the plan. I'm with you until through Thursday of next week, and then Leaf Tulane takes over and carries you to the draft, which will be good because he's better than I am on the draft stuff. So we've got 9 days left to talk draft together. I'm excited for it. I'll be checking the YouTube comments with some regularity to kind of know where you guys are, what you're thinking about, what you're talking about on things. Today's show is brought to you in part by Prize Picks. First-time users receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. That's prizepicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. All right. I need a little therapy. I think I might have to do this research tonight and watch Kobe Buffkin and watch Taylor Hendricks, but I don't know how I actually do all these things, but that's at least the vision. So if you listen to people talking about the players in the NBA draft, this has kind of been my ongoing thing, frankly. It's like they're all great. They're not. Okay. There's a lot of them that might become pretty good NBA players. But I like Taylor Hendricks and I like Jarace Walker, and we're going to talk about them coming up. They're not great. Victor Wembanyama, okay. But there is a level right now where I'm listening to people talk about these players as though all of them are game-changing. All of them are going to alter everything you do. No. In fact, most not. And there really should be a fundamental change in the way we talk. Now, I understand psychologically why we do this, and I understand why commentators do it, and I understand why fans do it. But it's a false hope narrative that bugs me. Maybe because I'm the only one who watches these guys super critically, and then I come up talking about all the things I don't like, and then I feel like maybe it's personal. I mean, this is a therapy session. You're going to have to help me out here. So my complaint is that if you listen to everyone talk about all of these players, they're all going to be great. It's just not true. The fact is that after the 11th pick of the draft, 50% of them are not going to be rotation players in the NBA. I'll do the numbers, but on the top 10 players, maybe 1 or 2 are going to be all-pro, all-stars. One's going to be an all-pro, an all-NBA. 7 or 8 of them will be regular rotation players, and 2 of them will not be. What I never hear anyone talk, there's a better chance, I think, well, I'm certain, on every player, there's a better chance they never play in the rotation than they become an all-star. And yet all I ever hear about is all the reasons they're so great.
Okay, by definition, they're pretty darn good because we're talking about them for the NBA draft. But there's got to be a critical thinking aspect of draft coverage. And what it is, frankly, is for the draft, a lot of the draft experts, and I'll give Leaf Tulane and Richard Stamen and Rafael Barlow of Locked On NBA Big Board a lot of credit because they're some of the few that aren't this way. But the truth of the matter, here's what's going on. On the draft experts, they're pretty tied in with the agents. And if they criticize a player talking about why they're going to be in the top, why they could be one that doesn't pan out, they're getting a phone call from the agent. And there's massive money on the line for these players. And so it's not just a subtle phone call. It's a really, really like intense, you're screwing me call. And that quiets people. Two is the flow of information. So many of our reporters are beholden to agents and people for the flow of information. Third is guts. Third is, I don't want to be the one who criticizes a player and have the player come and get me. I blew it on CJ McCollum. I totally blew it. I watched CJ McCollum when he played against Duke and a few others, and he was at Lehigh. And my comment was that I really, really liked a lot of him, but I wished the ball went in. Like, he actually didn't shoot very well in those games. Okay, I'm not a draft, like, I watch these guys, but I don't have the acumen that everybody else does. So you have to be careful with these things. But CJ met me and was like, nice. You like some mistakes. He got in on me. Like, yeah, my bad. You're freaking a stud. My bad. I missed. There's got to be a little bit more of that in draft coverage. Now, I get it. The fourth and final reason is because guys like me who are only watching 1 or 2 or 3 games shouldn't really be definitive in our criticism. We haven't watched them enough to do it. So what you have in the draft landscape right now is so few reporters that actually really cover it. Fewer reporters of that circle in that Venn diagram, beholden to agents, beholden to not criticizing players, reluctant to criticize a player because of the impact. That's a high group of them. There's very few of them that are floating outside of that circle. There's just generally also, like, being wrong scares the hell out of people. And then you have the group that I'm in, which is guys that kind of dabble, but don't really dabble well enough that we should. And we probably don't have the right to be critical. So I'm probably out of line. But if you listen to draft coverage right now, it's a joke. So we should be, and then the third piece of the puzzle is a willing audience. And the willing audience, is you want hope, right? This is like your next piece, your next jersey you're buying, your next favorite player. You want to believe that the 9th pick is going to change the course of the franchise. You want to believe that the 6th pick is going to change. You want to believe that you know who the flyer is at 16. I got it. But I just kind of like, as we walk into the final 9 days together and the final 14 days or 15 days before the draft, like, let's just be a little realistic. It's like, all right, this gets to my second point. And this isn't as dramatic as I thought it was going to be. If you watch the NBA playoffs, if you can't shoot, you can't play, right? Aaron Gordon shoots 35.6% from 3. He's the worst shooter that anyone's playing right now. Like, not having Victor Oladipo is good for Miami. So let's just remember a few things here. Effective field goal percentage, which weighs 3-point shooting. So in other words, like, if you're a 33% 3-point shooter, your effective field goal percentage is 50%. Right? Because you're getting 3 points for the bucket. It's 1 point, 3 shots, 3 points, 1 make. Okay, you got me? Let me just walk through the draft for a second. The following players on a spot-up shooting, effective field goal percentage is below 50%. Victor, Amon Thompson in high school, Deontay George at 49%, Asur Thompson at 49%, Nick Smith, Anthony Black, 44%. Jarace Walker, 48%. Jalen Hood-Schifino, 29% spot-up effective field goal percentage. Chris Murray, 49%. Julian Phillips, 33%. Leonard Miller, 33%. Ryan Rupert, Frenchman, 34% in the French League. Armar Bailey, who I like athletically, is 46%. Okay, Dylan Mitchell pulled himself out of the draft. Okay, so that's just the main group there. Overall catch and shoot shooting percentage. This is probably generally an open 3 shot. Okay? Scoot Henderson, 32% effective field goal percentage. You don't hear from anyone. He might not be able to shoot. Amon Thompson, 42%. Keontae George, 49%. Stuart Thompson, 45%. Anthony Black, 48% in the 41st percentile. Jalen Hood-Schifino, 44% in the 32nd percentile. Same guys, Julian Phillips, Leonard Miller. Okay. You got to shoot. Off the bounce dribble shooting. I think this is actually hard. I don't criticize a great deal for some of this, but worth noting. Percentile. Victor, 30 percentile. Scoot, 38 percentile in G League. Amon Thompson, 43 percentile in high school. Jarace Walker, or Jarace Walker, 49% or 29%. I'll talk about him in a second here. Leonard Miller, 34%. Interestingly, Chris Murray, who everyone talks about as a shooter because he's Keegan Murray's brother, 45%. So, just have a little reality. Thank you. That was a therapy session. I needed that. I hope that was all right. I appreciate it immensely. Thank you for letting me go down that road. Today's show is brought to you by Murdoch Chevy. They're located in Woods Cross, also in Logan. The Chevy lineup of cars is just tremendous. The trucks are unequaled. There's nothing like the way a Chevy truck is made. There's nothing like how a Chevy truck drives. And that's why the Chevy truck is Americana and is the best out there. The trucks, there's the Silverado lineup. There's 5 different versions of it. And there's the Colorado. And they're both just outstanding on the truck lineup of cars right now at Murdoch Chevy. The SUV lineup, getting better and better by the day. The Suburban and the Tahoe are the signatures, the Utah County assault vehicles. But then you've got the Equinox, the Traverse, the Blazer, and the Trailblazers. They're all built fabulously. The Bolt electric car is a big winner as well. And the first ever all-electric Silverado truck is available in the fall of 2023. So check that out. It's all at Murdoch Chevy, located in Woods Cross and in Logan. If you're going to stop by, we'd love to help you out and give you that locked on every day or VIP experience. So please do stop by and give me an email first at dlock09 so we can give you that VIP experience. Today's show is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks bringing you the opportunity to get with the promo code Locked On to get your guaranteed match there. Plus, during the NBA Finals right now, the $1 million daily super flex promotion is taking place. Here's how it works. One Prize Pick user will win a chance to become a millionaire. Yeah, that's right. One entry placed on a selected day, and then you get a chance to pick the 6-pick flex. If you get all 6, you get $1 million. If you get 5, you get 80,000. If you get 4, you get 16,000. Full details are at prizepicks.com/million, and you must opt in at that link to be eligible for the $1 million entry. Prize Picks, daily fantasy, made fun and easy. Pick 2 to 6 players, win up 25% of your money. You're not competing against others. You're just doing against the projections. And if you use the promo code Locked On, you get a 100% deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, Prize Picks gives you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks gives you $50. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On for the instant deposit match up to $100. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day, and to the everydayers, huge shout out there. We greatly appreciate the time you spent on the show and listening to the show as well. More draft breakdowns later as the week goes on. All right, Kid Kessler was out on the NBA. I hope you got to see it. Hope he's having just a great personality, great fun. Super for us to have him. Great way for the Jazz to be relevant. Hopefully being around that environment inspires him and lets him see it. Everything's still new for him. He's got great zest and enjoyment to it. But I do think he has a quest to be great. And I think that's important, and we'll see that. I don't think he's good. And I thought we saw just a lot of resiliency out of him this year when things went wrong. And I think that's about probably the most exciting aspect of things. All right. I watched Jarace Walker and I watched Taylor Hendricks. Kind of on my theme. There's a lot to really, really, really like. There's a lot to be really, really, really concerned about. So I got to watch them both more. I've watched one game where they played each other. Walker's interesting to me in that he's a willing passer. So let me back up. I don't think that there should be assumed knowledge of who these guys are. Walker is out of Maryland, played at the University of Houston. He's unique in that he's 6'8", 240. He shot 35% from three. Here's my huge concern. However, he shoots on the way down. This is something Ron Boone taught me. You go up and he shoots on the way down, which means he will not, it is very unlikely he can extend his range. Or he's going to have to change the way he shoots, which is difficult. So I do not, and he's a 66% free throw shooter. He was the 8th ranked high school player in the country. So there's a lot like physical tools and skills, and it's a pretty interesting body. So my concern, if we're going to start these conversations with a concern as I open the show today, is that I do not think he'll be able to shoot at a high level in the NBA. I think he will actually have a really hard time shooting. I think it will not stretch out on an NBA level. So that would be, now, again, there are guys that are way better than me. Evan Brads of our staff should probably be the one making this comment, not me, in the sense that, like, looking at him. But that's what I saw. Okay. Like, just immediately jumped out to me. Frankly, it was on a ball that went in too. So it's like you're watching, you're like, ooh. So that's concerning. It kind of reminds me a little bit like body-wise and things of Isaac Okoro, who is 6'5", 225, and Walker's bigger. He's 6'8", 240. What I really do think is interesting about him is that he moves the basketball very willingly. He makes passes that are one removed. He had a super catch opened up on a pick and roll inside traffic and finished it. He did jump off 2 feet, not one on that. So I'd like to watch him more and see if he's a 1 foot jumper or a 2 foot jumper. My feeling is with his size, he might have to be a 2 foot jumper, which will make things difficult on him. So I think that the catch and the hands and the passing and the playing with teammates for an 18-year-old kid was really impressive. The shooting's really problematic. He's thought of, and I read a lot about him as a defensive player. I didn't see that. In fact, Taylor Hendricks just blows by him on a possession to make and dunks left and baseline, crosses him, moves him. I didn't see like twitchy side to side movement. That is what leads to a really, really good defensive player. But this kid's been a big time kid forever. He's a 5-star recruit. He's one of the top players in the 2020 draft. He had a good college year, but those are like, if I'm being a little bit more like honest, those are my things. Nice player, like the way he plays with teammates, likes the way he plays the game. Going to be super interesting to me to see like whether or not he learns how to extend it. Because what I saw was a guy who I think will have a hard time extending it with his shot. And then his dribble game's fine, but I didn't see I haven't seen massive explosion around the rim that tells me he can turn that dribble drive game into an NBA like finish game. We'll see. Again, like I did mean it when I put myself in the classification of guys who just dabble in this and don't probably spend enough time. But his numbers back up a little bit of what I think I saw. His rib percentage finishing is elite, like 84 percentile. So that's really, really good. His isolation numbers in 36 attempts was not good. So I think that backs up a little bit what I thought I saw. Okay. Taylor Hendricks is super interesting. So Taylor Hendricks is 6'9" and a quarter, 214 pounds. He's 19 and a half years old for a freshman, which is old. I think he and Jarace Walker are two of the older freshmen out there. Grady Dick's about the same. They're similar. 19. They're a little under 20. The old ones are Amon and Asua, who are both 20 and a half years old. And Jordan Hawkins is 21 as a sophomore, but not freshman at 19 and a half is about right. All right. Taylor Hendricks, I got why you love him. Taylor Hendricks, like if he's your favorite player in the draft, I got it. Like probably not because of Victor, but like he's beautiful. He's 6'9". He's 214 pounds. He'll be 6'9", 225 when he gets older. He moves incredibly. When he runs, he's a flash. Like it's incredible. He elevates with ease. Like when he's caught a ball in down low, just up and dunk. Like it's incredible. The natural skill set, his shot is comfortable. Like it's a comfortable, beautiful, took a lot of corner threes. He did take like an off the bounce pull up in the game I was watching out of like without a pass possession and it banked in, but his 39% shooting is probably seems really replicable in the NBA. He doesn't have a clue how to play the game. Okay? So like no one's saying these things, but I'm going to say it. Like simple things. Drove the lane, probably should have gone up himself. Low skipping bounce pass in traffic to a 6'10" teammate. No. Moving on the floor into driving lanes with regularity. Not really getting spacing. Poor closeouts. Outrun in transition early in a game where he just didn't hustle enough to get back. Soft going to a pass, allowing the defender to come over his shoulder to steal it to go the other way. Next possession ripped from the ball out of his hands. The most incredible athletic block at the rim on 2 different plays in a span of 10 minutes. The most incredible running the floor. Like, if he's at 9, I think you have to take him. But then the expectation, like, I don't know if he can play yet at all. Not like dribble handoffs with your body in the complete worst position. Sideways, not horizontal. Pick and roll play opened up completely wrong with his footwork. Just no instincts. No instincts. Cutting defensively, you can feel it, like not sure where to go. But the 6'9", 215, that's going to be 220, that jumps out of the gym, that absolutely can do, oh yeah, give me that. But that's this is a little bit to my open, like, yes, like Taylor Hendricks 9, yes. With the understanding that that's a process. All right, NBA Finals thoughts on Game 1 coming to you as we continue here on Locked On Jazz. So I think the narrative that's going to be built in the next 48 hours, because you look at the box score and you see it, is that Nikola Jokic became a shooter, not a passer, and so Miami won game number 1. Yeah, that's not true. Well, the first thing is true. That Jokic took 28 shots, Murray took 15, Brown took 9, and they did. They did, in fact, guard Jokic one-on-one. He was in the lane. They didn't, ignore him, by the way. They brought a double after he put it on the floor a few times. And he scored 16 of 28 and scored 41 points. So that is true. What's not true is that that's why they won the game. They won the game because they went 17 of 35 from 3 because their offensive rating, which was a 120, was close to a 130 in the next night. And because Denver, for whatever weird reason, didn't play the first 5 minutes of the first and third quarters. Eric Spoelstra made a bunch of interesting adjustments. a 1-3-1 zone in which he like basically put a little guy on Jokic and just made it super difficult for Jokic to get to his spots. They went to a 5-out offense that allowed them to suddenly get shots at the rim at a much higher level than they were before. In fact, in the first quarter, I don't think they got a shot at the rim. In the second quarter, they got about 2 or 3. Miami did. Then they got 4 in the third quarter, and then they got 3 in the fourth quarter. So I think that there are a bunch of adjustments and things that happen. The one that's just not accurate is that they slowed down Denver's offense at all. It's an incredible win for Miami. They're resilient. They played 48 minutes. It's pretty awesome. But if you look at the advanced metrics just on the game alone, not even looking at periods of time, the offensive rating of the Denver Nuggets was a 124, which is better than their offensive rating of what they had in game 1. But Miami's was a 129. And frankly, if you if you want to take it that, okay, the game was probably, for the most part, now it got down to a final shot in a final moment, so I'm not sure I totally believe this. If you kind of even want to say, okay, before the 3-point shooting barrage that happened about the 3:37 mark when Miami's up 8 or 9, Denver's offensive rating is still a 117.3. Now, it's actually better when Jokic was off the floor at that point, so that's probably worth noting. What I do think they did is exploited Jokic defensively a little bit. And then they just hit a crazy amount of threes. So there are a bunch of adjustments that were made, a bunch of fun stuff that took place, but I do think that the narrative that is out there is a little inaccurate. I'm doing Locked on NBA today with Howard Beck, and so we'll have more on that and talking about it on the show if you want to check that out next as your kind of second listen of the day. Or you can go to NBA Big Board for your second listen of the day as well. All right, that is Locked on Jazz. Thanks so much for tuning in. More draft breakdowns. I want your guys' thoughts on all this. Then on our Instagram at DLock09, we'll have a lot of fun with our our features of the week with our player highlights of the year. So feel free to jump on those. All right, it is Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast in the Utah Jazz, giving insight, expertise, geeky numbers. Thanks so much. Locked on NBA with Howard Beck will be up today. Locked on NBA Big Board with Raphael, Richard Statement, and Leaf Tulane are all awesome. Talk to you soon.